because you're a silver admin, you don't get to do that.
You don't.
Well, welcome again, everybody. It's good to hear everybody and sort of picture people's faces, even if I can't see them. And as usual, start out with the listed updates. And I will primarily just leave everybody to read those on their own. There's no reason for me to go through them one at a time and waste everyone's time with it. But what I will spend a little extra time on is just talking about the swag and calling people's attention to the third and beyond pages of the document, where we now have pictures, pictures or proofs of every bit of swag that we intend to give away this year.
They are awesome.
So the one that's going to be a little tight is going to be the dice rolling tower. Thankfully, the producer for that is in Sacramento, so it's not going to be the end of the world if they're going right up till the 11th hour, and we can literally just run down to Sacramento and pick them up.
Um,
Or I might task somebody who's already coming that direction if they're willing.
I live in Galt.
So, and that's only if it comes down to it. They may get production done faster than they expected, and we might get them a week or two before the con.
Fair, but I'm saying I live in Galt, and I'm going through Sacramento on my way to BLFC, so I could gladly pick them up.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's an issue, we'll put out a call for it before.
Sure. Yeah. But that bought us a little bit of extra time that we needed for me to be comfortable with going forward with that. Um, so yes. And I want to thank also want to thank Arwaf and Akai for building the design. I don't think either of them are actually in the meeting right now, but yes, give them both a big thanks for helping create that design. There also is actually a 3D model of this. If you want to see it more in person, we'll probably get that posted on, or I'll hand that model file off to Glitch to put on the website along with all the other pictures of these swag items as time allows. There's no
Yeah,
good
I'd
way to
want to
put a
get
3D
the
model inside a Google Docs document. So
yeah, I'd like to get the original image files for the images in the Google Doc if possible, just so
yep,
I have the highest quality available.
yep. The ones that are in the Google Doc were just resized. I don't think Google actually took any data away when I did that, so you can probably just grab those files and bring them back up. We'll talk about it after the meeting.
Yeah.
I also don't want to provide super high quality pictures of some of them, like the picture for the patron tier dice mat, because
Yeah,
then people get to
though
just use the artwork for whatever they want.
yeah, they'll be scaled down anyway. It's just it's
Yeah.
I guess it's me doing it versus Google doing it.
So yeah, I'm quite happy with how the swag all came out this year, and I think the team did a pretty damn good job. All the badge art is also available, and please go select that if you haven't yet. I have already put in the order, and there are already limits set for each of the badge arts for however much that we're intending to order. Um, minus a little bit of safety margin, so that if somebody really wants a badge art that doesn't exist anymore and they can't select, then we still have the ability to shift things around. Plus, some people change their mind like at registration when they're picking up their badge, and registration doesn't necessarily always um, insist that people take what they picked in registration. So there's always a few last minute swaps like that. But I will formally discourage those last minute swaps, because it runs the risk of some design that somebody did actually pick end up running out completely. So I'll leave that up to registration's discretion.
we do try and enforce people take the design they picked,
Okay,
especially at the beginning.
that's good.
The last couple of days we're a little more lax on it.
Sure. And also, nothing stops them from changing their selection if it's still available. We just want them to change their selection in the system so that it's accounted for. People can still change their selections all the way up until basically the day of the con, except staff members and volunteers, because we pre-print all your stuff a couple weeks in advance.
And then we spend an evening stuffing it all into envelopes.
The highlight of Levi's year.
It is. It's how I know. I'm like, oh my god, it's real. It's happening. Panic.
At
And
the
you get to see
disco.
all the goofy badge names that people have picked.
Oh yeah.
Normally, how early before the con do you do that?
Literally the
Typically,
weekend before.
yeah, it's typically the weekend before.
Oh, cool.
So I guess in this case, it'll probably end up being the 2 weekends before, because if it's the weekend before, then we're in trouble.
A question in the meeting chat is, when can people switch their names back to goofy ones?
Oh,
If
they can do
they-
that now.
Okay.
The order for staff badges has been sent out. So sorry if I don't remember if we told people or not yet that they could switch it back.
I mentioned it in the break room, but I didn't really. It wasn't like pinned or anything.
Yeah. Yep. Feel free to whatever stupid name shenanigans you want at this point.
I have a surprise announcement at some point.
Okay.
Um,
you can go ahead.
It's nothing major, and it shouldn't actually affect anybody, but the COVID policy is going to be slightly updated due to changing vaccine authorizations. It's basically just going to be a wording change, but it's come up, and it's something that I have to do like today and tomorrow. So if you see an update, it should be about as clear as I can make it. But as always, do not answer questions. Nobody, literally nobody is allowed to answer questions on the COVID policy except through the vaccine account, vax@goblfc.org, VAX. So please, if anybody has questions, send them that way. Basically, the FDA has recommended, and what went into production is no longer bivalent. They're now monovalent with an updated variant. So specifically requiring a bivalent vaccine is, I've actually already gotten one email about it, but that's just what's going to be tweaked.
Okay. It's still sort of like spiritually the same concept. It just, you have to change the wording.
Yes, there's no, for 99% of people, they wouldn't even realize that it was different.
Yeah. And
there won't be anything.
Affected.
Yeah, like it will not affect anybody at all. Basically, the policy will not change in a way that affects anybody. It's basically just tacking something onto the end to cover this weird situation.
Okay.
So the policy on how many shots, how many series, boosters,
and the
et cetera,
dates
not changing.
Yeah, and the date's not changing. It's all the same. It's just that the current policy says if you received a bivalent vaccine as your first one, you don't need a booster because you couldn't get one. And now I have to change it to not just say bivalent, because now the most up-to-date thing that the government will give you is no longer bivalent.
Got it.
But I'm just mentioning it here since it's gonna happen at some point, and if anybody gets questions on it, just send them to the appropriate place.
I have a question then about that. Do we
Sure.
need to have the current one that they put out then instead of just the bivalents and the two series?
No. Like I said, there's no actual change in like the requirements. If you are good under the current policy, you will be good under the new policy. It's literally just adding a little bit to include the fact that you can no longer get a bivalent vaccine anymore, or you won't be able to soon.
Okay.
Kind of an and/or situation.
Yeah, it's just it's a wording situation that was originally written that way to make it clear why the dates were chosen, and now it's just before the con becoming not relevant. And like if I go to the COVID policy and just take a quick look at it, I believe if I just remove if we change it to the initial bivalent co-vaccine part and just say instead any vaccination after September 1st, 2022, then it's the same difference really. But basically it's like it will change. The wording will change, and the point I want to make is that it is not getting more strict, nor is it getting more lenient. So if anybody is thinks one way or the other, it is not. We're not actually changing the policy in any effective way. This is simply a wording change because of what is available from the CDC and FDA.
Right. So it remains functionally the same.
Yes. I just one because we've been all very specific about, and I have gotten people privately who have been who have thanked me for having the policy of we're not going to change our policy, so that people can feel comfortable, if they've made a decision based on it. I have to make the update, but it's not effectively a change.
It avoids confusion and keeps us in compliance with current CDC standards.
Yeah, it's not even compliance per se, but strictly speaking, under the way the policy is written, if you got your first vaccine on October 1st of this year, you couldn't attend.
Correct.
And that's obviously not what we want.
I appreciate the attention to detail.
I didn't even know it happened until somebody emailed me. Honestly, I'm not keeping up with the FDA's press releases. I looked briefly and decided to not. They're mostly boring.
That should cover that.
Yep.
So, I want to call out a couple things in the updates that you will presumably already have read at this point, but I want to specifically mention them here in voice as well. We will have a need for a couple of people to keep an eye on the third stage area very, very late, all the way up through until basically sunrise on the middle day of the con, the middle night. So that's listed as 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. Thursday. Be mindful that that's really feels like Wednesday night. That's the middle night of the con. That is not the very, very end. And we don't need much. We just need a couple of people who, ideally, people who are already up that late anyway, just by their own by their own devices. People who just typically do stay up that late. To be available to keep an eye on that one space. It'll be the only space that's open. And I would like to have at least one Fursuit Lounge volunteer in there to keep an eye on a little bit of Fursuit Lounge stuff, and also because Fursuit Lounge people are best experienced to watch for people that are experiencing signs of distress or heat stroke or similar. And just keep an eye on the whole room. It'll probably have estimated 75 to 100 people dancing until 7 in the morning. And the reason Dance Till Dawn is moving into that space is just because it's going to feel empty if it's in a really big space. One, it'll actually feel better. The number of people that do attend it, it's going to feel better in a smaller space. And two, it's a big logistical stretch for everybody to keep all the main con space open when it's so empty. So it makes more sense to just relocate stuff to the third stage for those twilight hours. And I think I already got buy-in. It's still a little bit in flux, but it'll be roughly 2 in the morning, and it's intended to end at 7 in the morning.
I'll probably be around.
The cutover will probably be around 2 in the morning.
Yeah, you can put me down to help with that.
Okay. Well, I might put you as the. Is Chaz one of the EODs? I don't know. I don't remember. we'll have to have one EOD during that time too, which is potentially going to be me.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of a night owl too, but
Yeah,
we'll
I
hash it
think
out.
You and
I
me
think
both.
I'm on the list for EOD as well
Oh, okay.
somewhere.
If you are on the
I
list
was
for
last
EOD,
year.
I'd just give it to you. You can have it.
Yeah,
But
I was doing it. I did it last year, so
okay.
I usually stay for the later night shifts too. So
Yeah, I know you tend to be a night owl as well, so that's probably why you were like, "Yeah, this should be fine."
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So the intent, like I think I already mentioned in Slack, is that we basically shuffle over a little bit of equipment from the main headless lounge to form sort of a basic fursuit support in just the back corner of the room, not blinded, not anything. It's going to be 3 a.m. Nobody's really going to care anymore if somebody deheads
yeah,
in the back of the room, especially because the room's going to be dark. Like, we're all friends here. Nobody really cares anymore.
and with the main loading dock
It'll be
and stuff,
fine.
there they usually keep a couple of carts around. We should be able to just
Yeah.
put some stuff on a cart, and it'll take like 10 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, I figure it should be easy. I don't think it's worth tearing down and moving an actual full like head rack. Also, power in that room might be limited, so I think at most a couple of blowers is probably just going to be your best bet. And those are literally just pick them up and carry them over.
Yeah, well, with the waters and stuff too, we'll have to see what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, and if you feel like it, you can move a Gatorade container and keep that stocked. But that's bonus points if you want to do it.
I
Water
can if I have a
water
cart.
only will be fine. Cool. Okay. And then we also still have a shortage for somebody to run fursuit games. Our normal person is not going to be available to come to the con. And actually, I knew this months ago, and I'm sorry, I just forgot to start putting a call out for this earlier. Um, but we do not have a person to run either fursuit games or adult fursuit games if we want to repeat that.
This is Rex or Rusty on there. I've run fursuit games at a number of cons and be happy to help. And obviously, we have ability for multiple people to help.
Okay. Levi, where do you think would be a good place to start keeping track of the people who are willing and interested in fursuit games? I think
Please
that's
just go ahead and in Slack post in the HR channel.
Okay.
And I'll approach you guys directly and we'll go from there.
Okay. I added that to the meeting notes as well. Okay. Thank you for being willing to keep track of that for me, Levi. Expect in the next few weeks, I may be putting out a call for anybody who is actually locally in the area and is willing to help inspect and QA swag items as we receive them. That will likely be probably 2 weekends before the con, I would guess. Most likely date, I'll just put it down now on the meeting notes. So most likely date would probably be the weekend of October 14th or 21st.
I'd be happy to help with that.
You know I'm down for it.
I appreciate it.
I'll have to check on my flight. I might be around as well.
Oh, that's right. You're going to be here for a while, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to be in the area for the week before and the week after, but I can't remember exactly when I'm flying. So
okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Very likely the QAing for the plushies will probably happen at the Creep Cat office, because that's who we partnered with to get the stuff in, and that's where it's all being delivered. Doesn't make sense to move it, just to take it apart and QA it. And they have the space and are offering the space, so that's going to be the most likely location for that QAing work. The other QA work will probably happen at my house or maybe at the storage facility, but more likely my house. We don't really want to do that stuff in storage because storage is dirty, and there's just no way to not get your hands dirty while you're in the storage facility, and we don't want that getting on on the swag items. If we're lucky, we will like spot check a couple of boxes, discover no problems, and say, okay, that's not worth checking the rest, and we'll just, open each box to make sure everything's there, but not like be individually pulling everything out and checking it. And if we get unlucky and we discover issues, then we have to start going through everything a piece at a time. It's happened both ways in the prior years, and it's just a little bit of a crapshoot how it plays out. So fingers crossed. And then the last thing I will mention is, again, a call to arms about opening ceremonies. Is AJ in here? AJ is in here. AJ has some ideas for a small skit for opening ceremonies that we were just kind of starting to flesh out yesterday. And ideally looking for people with specific species of fursuits that match the characters in the podcast and in the lore. I've already got somebody with a dog on board. I already have a rat on board, and looking for the other three, potentially a bear, a sergal, and the hard one's probably going to be finding somebody with anything monkey. So
I could just stand on stage.
Good one.
Yeah, and
Yes, hairless
just
monkey.
as an added thing, anyone who is apprehensive of it, you don't have to do very much. It would essentially be, we'll have a spot marked for you on stage to go to that mark and strike a pose, and you'll be in fairly dark silhouette. We're looking for the shapes of the characters, not necessarily the colors of the characters. Although bonus points if you are.
yeah, I think the plan is to almost backlight people rather than, backlight the characters rather than front light, so that they
Yep.
appear more in silhouette. There may or may not be optional. Well, you could speak better to this, AJ. Was there a thought of any sort of bonus pantomiming that goes along with the whatever audio voiceover that is being used at the time?
Yeah, there might be a little bit of that. I'm open to it. I still need to completely flesh out the rough draft, and have some people look at it and poke a bunch of holes in it so I can fix it.
Yeah, your plan is just to assemble a sort of voiceover track, right?
Yep. It's gonna catch everybody up to speed with the story so far.
Yep. So there will be no voice acting required either. It's just basically stand in place and look cool.
Exactly.
And if you're not comfortable being on the stage, but you are okay with somebody else using your fursuit, that's also a thing we can accommodate. Find someone else.
Someone in the YouTube chat, Sharks Food, says they have a monkey suit and they might be interested in helping.
Oh, excellent. Okay, that's going to be the hardest one to find too.
Yeah, so
yes, please.
I'd say, how should they reach out?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought of that yet. AJ, do you want to manage them? Do you want me to compile the list first? What would you like to do?
If it's all right with you guys, could we have them go through HR and then HR interface with me?
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate that.
And a preemptive thank you to that. Sorry, I already missed the name, but the person who spoke up in the YouTube chat. Because again, that was the one I was like, oh, it's going to be so hard to find somebody. Okay, Before I move on to the little brainstorming section further down, does anybody have questions about the updates or any other questions that come to mind, or anything that they want to say, just comments or whatever about the swag items, or any concerns that they have?
I have just a few standard reminders.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Just HR stuff really quick. Making sure if you are not on Slack already, please get on Slack. You should have gotten an invite when your volunteer application was accepted. If you cannot find it or you don't know what it is or you have no idea what's going on, please reach out. We will definitely get you set up. We have over 85% of people on Slack. For those of you who are in there, thank you. That makes everything a lot easier. As we get closer to the con and also into next year, everything is going to be transitioned over to that platform, assuming nothing explodes. Aside from that, if you are a recruit and you have not registered for the convention yet, please register for the convention. At some point pre-con, if you have not registered, we are going to not print your badge. And if you don't print your badge and you come up to the desk, we won't have your badge and you'll have to go through the registration line. We don't want to do that to you. Nobody wants that. So just make sure that gets done if you can, please. I think that is about it for me. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me directly afterwards.
Can we do like a blast, like either on Telegram or email for the make sure you're registered for con tidbit, just so anyone that's not here knows?
Yes, I typically compile a list of everyone who has a volunteer application in but is not registered yet, and I send an email blast to them. In fact, I need to do that here probably today or tomorrow.
Perfect.
I like how Kai put it. If you're not in Slack yet, you're slacking.
I know that a few people have expressed that they're having difficulty with Slack, particularly notifications. Also had one person who mentioned that they're having a lot of problems with they basically have to reset their password every time, and every time they try to use Slack. And those are both things that I think HR would love to help you work through and get Slack working for you instead of fighting you. And
yes, please.
Yeah, to say I'm not putting words in your mouth. I hope, right?
No, absolutely. And if it's something that's even like I'm not a tech support wizard, but if it's something that even I can't solve, there are plenty of people here on staff who can help.
I think even for Slack, there are alternate methods of password-free sign-on. Not that I care for them personally, but they do exist.
So if somebody approaches anybody with like questions on how to get help with Slack, should we direct them to HR or?
Yes, especially if it's something that like prohibits them from getting into Slack or really using Slack or causes Slack to be like, I can't stand this. I need to get rid of it. Let us help resolve the issue first.
Okay, should we specifically send them to you, Levi, or is there
the HR email, I believe?
HR email or yeah. I was almost going to say HR channel Slack.
They can't go into Slack. That's exactly what I was about to get at. Yeah, hr@goblfc.org.
Cool. That means we can just direct them to the form on the website, and they'll be good.
That also, if you want.
Cool. Just making it as user friendly as possible, especially if the person's not technologically savvy.
Yes, please.
Okay, and I added that note into the little meeting document here as well. I think there is also a help desk channel in Slack. Am I correct?
Yes.
It was intended for people within Slack asking for help on how to use Slack within Slack.
Yes, it was originally intended as a help desk, like for IT related issues, Slack related issues, etc. but it has just basically become a place where everyone asks any manner of questions, and I'm perfectly okay with that because I want people to ask questions and not just be frustrated.
It is something that we will probably change in the future to have more granular help channels.
Yeah.
You know, we might not need one for every department, but having them all in one is not actually very good at all. So
Yeah.
it
But we
has
will have to
grown
have-
into something for now. Like if you have a question about a specific department, that department's channel is where you should go, not to the help desk channel. If you have problems with like using something, then you know the help desk is a great place to start.
Yeah. Or if you can't find the department's channel, then
Yeah, there's
help
a
desk
couple.
is-
I think a couple departments don't have channels.
So help desk is probably an okay backup, right? For if a person
For
simply
now.
can't find a department's channel.
Yes, for now.
Okay. I actually didn't realize there even was a help desk channel until I just now looked for it. So I did not add that to my list of channels.
Yeah, it won't add. Obviously, you know, it only puts people in the one channel when you join. I don't believe there's a way to force it unless you pay a lot more money to Slack.
At the risk of this turning into a little bit of a back and forth discussion, but am I correct? My impression of Slack is that their intent and the way that they designed it to be used is that you join the channels that matter to you, and then if you need to be dragged into another channel temporarily, that somebody name drops you, it'll pull you into that channel, and then you answer whatever it is you need to talk about, and then you're free to then leave that channel again.
That is how
You
Slack is
haven't-
designed. Yes.
Okay.
With a slight note that there's an option to just tell you things rather than just pull you into a channel. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, like people can just notify someone that they've been mentioned.
Okay.
rather
So it
than
is not
directly
meant.
doing it.
Yeah, it's not meant for you to have all of the channels on the left side of the thing and for you to get overwhelmed with information.
No,
Oh,
absolutely
God,
not.
no. Oh God.
That's my job. And yes, it is overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started using folders for different divisions.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, so I guess
everybody
then
for
we keep that in
everybody.
mind.
Yeah, for everybody here in the meeting, you know, you want to be in announcements, you want to be in your department's channel, the break room channel, of course, is one that a lot of people want to be in. You don't have to be in there, but a lot of people like that. And then beyond that, it's sort of like look through and if there's a channel where you're involved with somehow, like I work for this one department, but we interface with that other department. Maybe you hang out in that channel just to see, or maybe it's something you want to learn about or see more about. You know, I want to see how this is happening, and not everything is happening on there, but at least it gives you some insight into it. The general department channels are all open, so the only times the private channels are generally things that either are required to be private or have like limited stakeholders, you know, that kind of thing. So you should be able to see stuff that you're interested in, and we always encourage people to you know, learn stuff or check out what they're interested in, that kind of thing.
And I think we set up Slack so that the creation of channels is limited, correct? So that it doesn't turn
Yeah,
into
it should be.
complete
Yeah.
disorganized bedlam.
So
Yeah.
that is the
That's-
area I wanted to ask: is our department leads able to make smaller channels that you can't see, like to the general public, or is it something that all like circles back to one or two people?
I don't think they can, and I don't know if we like if there's a need for something, we can work on that. The one issue, of course, is that because of the way Slack is built, nobody can see a private channel, not even the owner of the account. So if you have a lot of people making channels, you can end up having discussions happening that have no way for like oversight management who maybe should be able to see it. So we are a little hesitant on just letting anybody make channels.
As a note, because my company's just now switching to Slack also, the group message function only has a limit of 10 people. So once you hit that, or 9 people, I think actually, but once you hit that limit, you need to go to a channel.
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're doing more than a couple of people, you probably should do a channel. And if it's something that I don't remember exactly who we have with the ability to do it, but I believe a general guideline is go to your department's director. because your department's director should basically be involved or be capable of being involved in everything, as sort of the oversight role. So that would be a good place to go if you actually need another channel for more than a couple of people to discuss things that need to be private.
Otherwise, it can be a group discussion.
Like, yeah, if it's like you and if it's like you and one other person, right? That's fine. Or you and two other people. Yeah, like we all do that in general. If it's something like an operations con ops example, I'll probably before con make a private channel for the managers of con ops, right? It's the people who have permissions to access certain things, and so I'll want a separate thing for that. If I were not the director of the department, I would then go to my director and have them make the channel, so that there's some line.
Can make the channel then.
If they, I don't actually know for sure. If they can't, we'll make sure that it's available. We're in the point of using Slack where if somebody goes to somebody and says, "Hey, can I do this?" and it's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. We'll change the permissions."
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a learning curve for everybody.
Yeah, it's a learning process for how we want to administer it. But the things we would like to avoid are ongoing, long-term discussions that happen with no ability for anybody else to look in on them. And this isn't for distrust reasons. It's for so that not only one person knows what's going on reasons, because that is a problem. If it's you talking to somebody in a private message or a couple of somebody's being like, "Hey, I thought about doing this. You're all in the department. What do you think?" Okay, we've made a decision, and now that's done. Great, that's fine. If it's I'm making a channel to deal with this issue every year, or I'm making a channel to talk to certain people, in an ongoing fashion, that needs to be a channel with at least your director involved.
Let's go ahead because we're getting late here in the time. Let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, because I also still have brainstorming I want to do, and that's gonna continue for a while because that's always how brainstorming goes. And yeah, I do want to go through any other topics before we start brainstorming because brainstorming will derail the whole meeting.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there any other topics or questions?
Yep. Yeah, you had the same idea I did.
Yeah.
Just want to throw it out there. The posters and the shirt are absolute fire.
That is the artist there is Zephra, who was a delight to work with as well. Just as an aside, if you ever feel like commissioning them, they are very, very communicative and very delightful to work with.
A question relating to some stuff that we talked about in private yesterday. Could we possibly use that artwork for video wall?
Most likely, yes. Yeah. Double check with Argy to make sure, but generally any artwork the convention has the rights, and we've reached an agreement with the artist that the convention has the rights to use that artwork for any other purpose that we would like.
And we have that for all the artwork this year.
Oh, say that again, Argy?
We have that for all of the artwork this year. So we can use any of the artwork in any way that we want.
Wonderful. Because we were talking in private yesterday about like a stained glass motif in the stage design. And while it's not exactly stained glass, it's freaking awesome.
Well, I mean, they could look like framed paintings instead of stained glass, and it would still serve the same purpose.
Very true.
Quick question there, Tycho. The shirts in the agenda, that's a front and back of the same shirt, right?
Correct. Yes, that's front and back of the same shirt.
Okay.
I also want to point out that the water bottle that we picked this year is not a bottle that will hold pressure. And we'll also need to come up with a little bit of a warning of some sort to provide to people either as a big printed thing at registration or as individual small notes that go into each bottle or go with each bottle that says basically this bottle, if you put soda in this bottle, it will leak if you turn it upside down. And it will also leak if you leave the straw attached because the pressure will just drive it up the straw and out the top of the bottle. So if you're going to use it with soda, you want to remove the straw, which it is removable. It'll pull right off the lid. If you don't want to lose it, you can still store the straw inside the bottle. That's harmless. And then don't turn the bottle upside down.
Yeah, I think that's
And then
a good idea. Just to let people know, because if they're traveling too, they go up into the mountains. It's gonna be messy.
Or if you're on an airplane, make sure you twist it open and burp it. I learned that the hard way.
Yep. Well, this thing will burp itself. It
yeah,
can't
this
hold
one's
pressure.
not. This one won't hold pressure, but
yeah. So this thing will burp itself, and if it tries to burp itself while it's upside down, it will burp out the contents instead. Even if it's just ordinary water, if you go through pressure changes like that, it will push it out. And that was a strategic decision. It's actually surprisingly hard to find bottles that both hold pressure and are drop resistant and are it's those two things.
affordable
Bottles
and
that
are affordable.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one was a neat idea. Like we found this color changing thing. It was originally going to be like, I think the art was originally conceptualized as like moon and mountains against like a smoky backdrop that only appears once the bottle gets cold. And then somebody else came up with this this great design that's currently on there, and we're like, oh yeah, that's wonderful. We'll go with that.
Is part of your testing of these bottles to just stick all of them in the fridge to make sure they work?
No. I don't think we'll have time for that. But I have no reason to believe they won't all change color when they get cold. And they change color like almost instantly. This one that I tested out that I took pictures of when I went to the shop to test the actual production sample, that was more or less immediate when I poured ice water in there. And you can see in the two pictures, like the first of those two pictures, it's only half full, and so the label is only partially visible. And the label isn't the bottle is white when it's not cold, and the print is also white, and that's intentional, so that the print is not visible or not readily visible until it gets cold.
So I think that more discussion on swag like of this can wait. Are there any other questions or departmental issues from anybody? I'm not hearing anything unless there's any questions on YouTube that we need to address. I don't have that open at the moment. We could probably move on to calling the bulk of the meeting done.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do brainstorming and discussion of stuff and after that.
And then of course for the brainstorming, nobody who doesn't want to stick around has to stick around. I'd say including Ghost, including you and the YouTube stream, unless you feel like maintaining that while we do the brainstorming and relaying whatever is said in YouTube. I will leave that up to you, whether you want to commit to that. Yeah. Okay. Then I think we'll just cut it off to just those who are here who want to stick around. There's still going to be plenty of people for brainstorming, so we'll be fine. Then I think with that, we will call the meeting itself adjourned. And I will wish everybody who is diving out of here a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all again in a few weeks, and then again a couple weeks after that.
Yay, indeed. My first BLFC is
Very
going to be awesome.
soon. Oh, I'm so excited to harass all the leads. I've been waiting all year.
Goodbye forever.